Discover the incredible journey, how a nanny transformed my daughter's lives in just 3 years. In the heart of suburbia, behind immaculate white picket fences and perfectly trimmed hedges, lay a world of secrets. Sarah, a 35-year-old single mother, felt the weight of those secrets pressing down on her every day. As she juggled her job at a local flower shop and the responsibilities of parenting her 2 daughters, Lily and Emma, the chaos of life often consumed her. Bills piled up like unwatered plants, and some days it felt like there was never enough love to go around. Fast food became their weekly ritual, while the glow of the television dimmed their spirits. Every moment spent in a world disconnecting them from each other stung deep within her heart. When Sarah could no longer manage on her own, she reluctantly hired Maria, an immigrant nanny with dreams as rich as Sarah's burdens. Maria radiated warmth, contrasting Sarah's exhaustion. As Sarah watched her daughters snuggle up to Maria, learning new songs and stories about a land far away, a flicker of hope ignited in her heart. Could this newcomer actually change their lives for the better? With Maria's help, the house transformed from a chaotic whirlwind into a cozy haven. Laughter echoed in the kitchen as she introduced cooking traditions from her homeland. Her daughters flourished, their imaginations sparked by tales of resilience. However, with every new routine Maria imposed, Sarah's insecurities crept in. She felt her own upbringing challenged and sometimes even threatened as her daughters learned more about their nanny's culture than her own. Then one fateful evening, everything shattered. Sarah returned home to find her boss had cut her hours. Anxiety clawed at her chest, weighing her down like an anchor. As she picked up extra shifts to keep afloat, the tight bond Maria had nurtured with Lily and Emma frayed. Sarah could see it in Emma's disheartened eyes, the disappointment spoken louder than any words ever could. Guilt stirred within her like a storm, making it harder to breathe. Before they could drift too far apart, the neighborhood rallied around Mrs. Henderson, an elderly neighbor who had fallen ill. The news spread, igniting a sense of community that Sarah craved. Could this be the answer to her isolation? Armed with renewed purpose, she embraced the spirit of togetherness, leading efforts to ensure Mrs. Henderson had everything she needed: meals, companionship, and laughter. Just as Sarah began to taste the sweetness of belonging, new challenges emerged. The tension between her and her daughters lingered in the air like a heavy fog. How could she bridge the widening gap that had formed? Could her family truly reconnect when everything, including their hearts, seemed so scattered? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Caught amidst the rising tide of community support, Sarah's heart raced. Could she find a way to weave back the threads of her family? As she stood with her neighbors under the golden glow of streetlights, a flicker of hope began to spark, a whisper within her heart urging her to fight for the love she feared losing. In that moment, the question loomed, heavy and tantalizing: could she really bring her family together, or would the relentless struggles of daily life tear them further apart? The next morning, sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, casting golden rays over the table. Sarah breathed in the fresh scent of pancakes, undeniable proof that Maria had risen early once again to prepare breakfast. As she looked around, she noticed the remnants of laughter lingering in the air. Lily and Emma were seated at the table, animatedly chatting. Maria stood nearby, flipping pancakes with effortless grace. It was the kind of scene that should have brought joy to Sarah's heart, but instead it tightened the knot of anxiety within her. She forced a smile as she joined them, but Emma's eyes flickered briefly with uncertainty, a subtle reminder of the distance that had grown. While Maria's presence had created a comforting atmosphere, it also felt like a blanket pulled tighter around her daughters, leaving Sarah feeling vulnerable and excluded. She tried to shake off the feeling, reminding herself of her commitment to building community. It was time to lean into the hope she had felt yesterday. Let us have a neighborhood potluck this weekend. Sarah proposed, her voice brightening as she spoke. We could invite everyone and share food and stories. It would be fun. The girls exchanged glances, unsure of how the idea would land. To Sarah's surprise, Maria smiled, her face radiating encouragement. The days leading up to the potluck were frenetic. Sarah scoured cookbooks, looking for recipes that would make her daughters proud. They planned their contributions with zeal. Lily would make her famous chocolate chip cookies, and Emma insisted on crafting a colorful fruit salad. Each evening, the kitchen transformed into a flurry of flour and fruit, all the while reconnecting them in a way that had long been dormant. However, as the event drew closer, self-doubt crept back in. What if no one came? What if she embarrassed herself? Her mind raced with what-ifs, and she felt the pressure mounting. That night, as Sarah lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, she wondered what kind of mother she was. Was she really doing everything she could for her daughters? In those moments of quiet, fear bubbled up, threatening to consume the newfound joy. Saturday arrived, buzzing with excitement and a hint of apprehension. Neighbors flowed into their yard, bringing dishes that showcased their unique backgrounds. There was laughter and chatter, voices mingling like a symphony of connection. Sarah watched the interactions unfold, a sense of pride swelling in her chest. Yet, she caught glimpses of her daughters giggling with Maria, their voices intertwining in ways that made Sarah feel more like an outsider in her own home. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, Sarah decided to take a deep breath and speak up. She gathered everyone around and shared a heartfelt story about Mrs. Henderson, how the community had rallied around her, and the importance of support. As Sarah spoke, she felt something within shift. The tension she had been carrying began to melt as her neighbors nodded, smiles broadening with every earnest word. That moment of vulnerability transformed everything. Suddenly, she wasn't just a mother struggling in silence, she was a part of a story that connected everyone in that yard. But just as the mood lifted, Sarah noticed Emma slip away from the circle, her face twisted in confusion. A chill ran through Sarah's heart. What had just happened? Was the tension really melting away, or was it simply hiding beneath the surface? Sarah sensed the urgency. She had taken a step forward, but was it enough? As she ventured toward Emma, a question loomed larger than before: could she reach her daughter's heart, or was the chasm too great to cross? As Sarah approached Emma, she felt the weight of her daughter's silence pressing against her chest like a heavy stone. Emma stood near the edge of the yard, her arms crossed tightly, her eyes scanning the gathering. It was a stark contrast to the laughter swirling around them, and for Sarah, each moment felt like stepping into quicksand. Emma? Sarah called softly, taking small steps toward her. The grass felt damp beneath her feet, but it paled in comparison to the unease that gripped her heart. Can we talk? Emma turned, her brow furrowed. What's there to talk about? Her voice was a whisper, loaded with emotions that felt like barbs. Everything. I mean, the potluck, it's a big deal. I just wanted you to be happy, Sarah replied, a lump forming in her throat. She reached out, hoping to bridge the distance. I thought we could have fun together. It's not about the food or the fun. Emma trailed off, her frustration bubbling just beneath the surface. You're trying so hard, Mom, but I feel like we're stuck. At Emma's words, Sarah felt a sting of realization. It wasn't just about the potluck. It was everything that had led them to this moment, years of feeling overshadowed by someone else's light. I know I've let you down, Sarah admitted, fighting back tears. I promise I'm trying to be better. She could see the flicker of sadness in her daughter's eyes, the war between wanting to forgive and needing to express hurt. It was a struggle Sarah had faced her whole life, wanting to be understood but fearing rejection. I want to connect, she said, desperation creeping into her voice. Can you help me do that? Emma hesitated, the tension between mother and daughter crackling like the warm air of the summer evening. Sometimes, Mom, I just don't feel like we're on the same side. And it's hard when Maria is well, you know, there. The mention of Maria's name hung between them like a weight that could shatter the fragile moment. Maria's here to help, Sarah said, though doubt ran deep in her heart. But it shouldn't come between us, I promise. Emma turned away, her gaze landing on the neighbors laughing and enjoying themselves. Sarah feared the chasm widening with every second of silence. She reached out, desperate for something to grasp. I need you, Emma. We can get through this together. Just tell me what you need. Maybe I just need you to be my mom again, Emma replied, barely above a whisper. Those words hit Sarah like a punch. The raw honesty in them was both empowering and heartbreaking. I'm so sorry, she said, her voice shaking. I'll do better. I want to find that connection. Please. Tears pooled in Emma's eyes, and in that moment, something shifted. The weight of unspoken feelings began to dissolve, a glimmer of hope sparking between them. Sarah gently took her daughter's hands, squeezing them tightly. We can take small steps. I promise. Emma nodded slowly, a reluctant smile breaking through her uncertainty. But just then, laughter erupted nearby, drawing their attention. The neighbors were raising glasses, toasting something, but the light-heartedness felt distant now. Sarah's heart quickened. Had they truly turned a corner, or was it just the calm before another storm? As she watched her daughter ease up a little, she couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead. Would they find their way back to each other, or was the road still fraught with challenges? That uncertainty lingered, tethering Sarah to the moment. She had taken one step, but would Emma take one back? As they stood together, hand in hand, Sarah felt the tension shift again, a flicker of hope emerging from the shadows. What would happen if the potluck was not just a neighborhood event, but a chance for healing? What if it became more than just a meal, turning into the moment they both needed to embrace change? As the laughter from the neighbors blended with the distant chirping of crickets, Sarah felt a mix of hope and trepidation swell inside her. Could the simple act of sharing a meal truly be the bridge they needed? Emma's grip tightened slightly, and Sarah glanced at her daughter, who was still lost in thought. The weighty silence hung between them like a fog. What if we just take it one step at a time? Sarah suggested, her voice soft but steady. We can start with small things. Maybe even picking out a dish to make together. Something we both love. Emma looked at her, eyebrows slightly raised, as if measuring the sincerity in her mother's eyes. You mean it? You'd cook with me? Of course. We can try that new recipe for lasagna. You always loved it, Sarah replied, a smile creeping onto her face. Emma's lips twisted into a small smile, hesitating, but then nodding slowly. Yeah, I remember how good that was. There it was, a ripple of connection, like a tiny spark igniting. Sarah couldn't help but feel a warmth spread through her heart. How about we make a list of ingredients tonight? Okay, Emma said, her voice lighter now, the tension easing just a bit. That could be fun. For the first time in what felt like ages, they shared a moment of mutual excitement. Just then, one of their neighbors approached, a broad smile plastered on his face and a plate piled high with food. Hey, you two. You've got to come try this garlic bread. It's the best. He leaned in, offering them the dish like peace offering. Sarah exchanged a glance with Emma, both contemplating the unexpected invitation. A wave of laughter coursed through them, and finally, Emma giggled. All right. I guess we shouldn't let it go to waste. They stepped forward together, Sarah's hand still clutching Emma's for encouragement. The interaction blossomed into lightheartedness as they made their way to the gathering, exchanging pleasantries with neighbors. Sarah felt the moment deepen with each kind word, each shared smile. That evening unfolded like a tapestry, woven with laughter, food, and the release of tensions. Sarah watched Emma chat with their neighbors as she sipped a glass of sweet tea, a small victory pulsing in her chest. But as the sun began to set, casting a warm orange glow over the gathering, the feeling of peace felt fragile. For every smile exchanged and story shared, a part of Sarah doubted. What if their bond was still too frayed to mend? As the stars blinked above, Emma suddenly turned to Sarah, her expression unreadable. "Mom, can I ask you something?" Sarah's heart raced, bracing for the weight of the question. "Sure, honey. What's on your mind? Why did you really bring Maria into our lives? Did you think it would help?" The question struck like lightning, illuminating unspoken fears and resentments. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She needed to be honest, yet the reality felt heavy. "I thought it would help us," she started, unsure of how to convey her complex feelings. As Emma listened, the gathering around them began to fade. A stillness enveloped their small space, charged with anticipation. Would this conversation open a door to clarity or unravel the tender threads they had just begun to weave? A renewed sense of connection hung in the air, matched only by the uncertainty of the truth. In that moment, the road ahead was uncertain but paved with the potential for understanding. What would the answer reveal? Emma's gaze didn't waver. It was as if a storm brewed behind her eyes, an emotion that was coiled tight and ready to snap. "And did it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Sarah swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the moment heavy in the air. Could she lay bare her truth without scarring the fragile connection they were just beginning to build? "I thought Maria could help fill the gaps. I thought it would give us both a break, a way to breathe," she admitted, the words tasting bittersweet on her tongue. Emma nodded slowly, looking down at the ground. But did we really need her? The question resonated deep within Sarah, echoing in the silence that surrounded them. She wanted to scream yes, but the truth knitted deeper in her heart told a different tale. "I guess I wanted to believe it would make things easier for us, keep us from falling apart." "Easier?" Emma scoffed, her tone sharp. "It hasn't felt easy at all." Sarah felt a rush of regret sweep through her. "You're right," she said, her heart loud in her chest. "It hasn't. But sometimes, we wish for solutions, for safety, without realizing those solutions can complicate what's already a mess." Emma's eyes flickered with emotion, an angry storm of hurt and disappointment. "So you thought bringing in someone else would fix this? Fix us?" It was an accusation, yet it hung there with a hint of vulnerability. I hoped," Sarah faltered. "I just wanted you to feel happy again. That's all I wanted. But happiness doesn't come from a stranger," Emma exclaimed, her voice breaking. They stood under the starry sky, but suddenly it felt like it had darkened. "I know it's complicated," Sarah said, taking a step closer. "I thought having Maria would help you find that spark. But maybe I was wrong." The air between them crackled with unspoken truths and a heavy weight of emotion. Emma took a deep breath, her shoulders slumping. "Maybe I just needed you more." Sarah's heart sank as a tear slipped down Emma's cheek. She hesitated for just a moment, then took Emma's hands in her own. "You have me. Always. I'm so sorry if I made you feel otherwise. But it felt like you were always too busy. Too focused on work, on everything else." Emma's voice trembled. "I just wanted time with you. I thought if I could balance everything, it would be better for us. I never meant to push you away." The sincerity in Sarah's voice was palpable. A flicker of understanding seemed to crack through Emma's angry resolve. "Maybe we can find a new way to do this." Sarah nodded, a spark of hope igniting. "We can try. Together. Maybe we don't need anyone else to fix what is wrong." "Yeah." Emma wiped her eyes and wiped her nose with the back of her hand. "But it's also going to take time." "Time," Sarah echoed, feeling lighter. It was a word layered with possibility. As they stood there, surrounded by the low hum of evening chatter from their neighbors, it dawned on Sarah that maybe the bridge they were trying to build didn't require any outside help. They had what they needed right there, in each other. But just as Sarah started to feel optimistic, a familiar voice cut through their moment, a voice that felt heavy with questions. It was Maria. "Hey, can I talk to you too?" she asked, stepping into their intimate bubble, her expression unreadable. Sarah's stomach twisted at the sight of her. Would this be the conversation that changed everything again? The relief they felt moments ago suddenly felt at risk of unraveling. "Sure," Emma said, shifting her stance, and Sarah felt her heart flutter with a mix of apprehension and curiosity. What would Maria want now? As the night wore on, Sarah realized they were on the brink of a decision that could redefine everything. What would that conversation mean for their fragile truce? Would hope survive the impending storm? Maria took a small step forward, her presence casting a shadow over the fragile moments Sarah and Emma had just begun to mend. The warmth of the evening seemed to dissipate as she stood in front of them, crossing her arms tightly. "I've been meaning to talk," she said, her voice steady but laced with tension. Sarah felt a flicker of anxiety dance in her chest. "About what?" she asked, striving for a calm tone, though her hands trembled slightly around Emma's. "I need to understand what's going on between us." Maria surveyed them, her gaze sharp, as if she could dissect the bond that Sarah and Emma were trying to rebuild. "I thought we had an agreement." "An agreement?" Emma's question hung in the air, piercing the charged silence. "Yes, an agreement. You both brought me in because you thought it would help," Maria replied, frustration creeping into her voice. "But it seems like things are more complicated now, and I don't want to be the reason for that." Sarah opened her mouth to speak but closed it again, grappling with the words. She felt the weight of Maria's scrutiny, and all her intentions delicately balanced. "We didn't mean for it to turn into this," she finally said. "It was never supposed to create division. We hoped it would help." "It's not about the help," Maria interrupted, her tone sharp. "It's about the trust. If you two are pushing me away now, what makes me think I'm not just a temporary fix in your chaos?" Emma's expression shifted, anger bubbling in her tightly clenched jaw. "We didn't push you away," she stated, her voice firm. "I just want to know we are okay. What we have is still intact." "But it is fragile," Maria replied, a hint of sympathy breaking through her strong exterior. "And if you're uncertain, maybe I shouldn't be here at all." Each word felt like a slide down a slope, the ground beneath them shifting. Sarah turned to Emma, who wore a stormy expression, a mix of anger and hurt reflected in her eyes. "What do we do?" Sarah whispered, hope thin at the edges. Emma looked away, her eyes darting to the ground, as if searching for an answer buried in the dirt. "I don't know," she finally said, her voice resigned. "Maybe we should think about whether we need Maria in our lives at all." The words hung heavy in the air, twisting Sarah's stomach. She shook her head. "No, that's not what I want. I don't want to lose anyone." "Then what do we do?" Emma's voice cracked under the pressure. "You can't just erase all of this." With a deep breath, Maria took a step back. "I think you need to figure out what is worth holding on to, and maybe I'm not it." The air grew thick with tension, and Sarah felt as if she had been punched in the gut. The thought of losing Maria, of losing the progress they had made, was more than she could bear. "Please, let us not make any rash decisions," she pleaded, her heart pounding. "We're just starting to find our way back to each other. Don't let this be the moment it all falls apart." Maria paused, her eyes softened just a fraction. "I won't just be a pawn in this game. You need to decide what you both want." With that, she turned away, leaving an aching silence in her wake. Emma's shoulders slumped, and Sarah felt their connection wavering once more. "What do we do now?" Emma whispered, her voice barely cutting through the darkness around them. "Maybe we need to talk, really talk," Sarah suggested, her heart bleeding hope and fear simultaneously. But deep down, she knew this wasn't the time for digression. They were standing on a precipice. The next step could either pull them closer together or send them spiraling apart. What if they couldn't face the truth buried beneath their fears? As Sarah looked at Emma, she realized that their journey was far from over. They had fought too hard to let it end now, but was their bond strong enough to weather this storm? The silence stretched between Sarah and Emma, an invisible barrier that felt heavier than 1,000 words left unspoken. Sarah stole glances at Emma, who still stared at the ground, her face a mask of hidden pain. Sarah felt something in her chest, a tightness that threatened to spill over into tears. "Emma," she finally said, her voice low, "we need to be honest with each other. We can't fix anything unless we really talk." Emma lifted her gaze, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "But what if the truth is too painful, Sarah? What if it just makes things worse?" A lump formed in Sarah's throat. "That's a risk we have to take. We can't let fear decide everything for us. I want to tell you how I feel. I want you to know I care about you. But I also want Maria to understand she matters to us. I feel torn." Emma's voice broke slightly. "This is so complicated. I wanted us to be a family, but ever since Maria came into the picture, everything feels different. Like we're all just pretending." "Pretending?" Sarah echoed, her heart pounding. "Are we really? Because I thought we were just trying to figure it out." "Maybe that's part of the problem," Emma said, her fists clenching. "I don't want to figure it out. I want it to be right, to feel right." The warmth of dusk began to fade, casting long shadows as the sun dipped behind the trees. It felt fitting, a representation of their emotions, darkening as they stood on the brink of something monumental. "We can't just let Maria slip away like that," Sarah insisted, her voice rising. "She's invested in us, Emma. Maybe it's messy, but it's real. And it means something." Emma hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "What if she's right? What if we're not ready or don't even want to?" The thought pierced Sarah's heart. "But I do want to. I want us to find a way through this." "Do you really? Or are you just scared of being alone?" Emma's question hung in the air, raw and fragile. Sarah opened her mouth to respond, but words failed her. The truth is, she feared isolation, both from Emma and from Maria. Yet amid her doubts, something inside her stirred. "Even if it's hard, I'd rather face it with you. Together." Emma's expression softened, the anger slowly fading, replaced by vulnerability. There was a glimmer, a hint of hope in her voice when she spoke again. "What if we try? Really try?" "That sounds perfect," Sarah said, her heart racing. "Let us do it for us and for Maria." They stood together, side by side, but with a lingering tension between them that would take more than a conversation to resolve. Just then, the faint sound of footsteps on gravel broke their moment of connection. They turned to see Maria approaching, her expression uncertain. "I didn't mean to interrupt." "No, you're not interrupting," Sarah exclaimed, her urgency rising. "We need you here. We need to talk about everything." Maria paused, confusion written on her face. "You want to talk to me? After everything?" "Yes," Emma said, her voice steady. "We want you to be part of this too. We need to find a way through." Maria blinked, her defenses softening as a glimmer of hope emerged. "All right, let us talk. Let us figure it out together." Feeling a spark of energy shift in the air, Sarah realized this could be the turning point they all needed. But as they gathered their thoughts and shifted closer, she couldn't shake off the fear that this conversation could either rebuild or completely dismantle everything they had worked for. Could a single meeting truly bridge the chasm that had formed, or were they destined to face deeper revelations that would tear them apart at the seams? Maria took a deep breath, her eyes darting between Sarah and Emma, searching for anchors in a turbulent sea of emotions. The air grew thick with anticipation, and Sarah felt her heart racing at the thought of where this conversation could lead. "Okay," Maria began, her voice quivering slightly. "What do we need to talk about?" Sarah exchanged a glance with Emma, a silent agreement passing between them. She gestured for Maria to sit down on the old wooden bench in the park, wanting a more intimate setting for their discussion. Emma settled in next to Sarah, giving her hand a reassuring squeeze. Together, they provided a united front for Maria, who seemed to shrink in size as she took a seat. Sarah hesitated, searching for the right words. "I think we've all felt a shift since you came into our lives," she said softly. "Emma and we don't want our feelings to push you away. We want to find a way to make this work for all of us." Maria looked down at her hands, picking at her nails. "I didn't want to come between you two. I thought I was helping." "We know that," Emma interjected gently. "But it's become complicated. And it's not just about us as individuals. It's about being a family, about being there for one another." Maria's gaze lifted, suddenly fierce. "But I'm not just a piece of the puzzle. I want to know where I fit in this family you're talking about." The challenge hung in the air, and Sarah felt the pressure mount. "You're a part of it, Maria. We care about you. You mean a lot to both of us, and it's important that you know that. But what if my presence makes things worse? What if you two are better off without me?" Maria asked, her voice breaking. The vulnerability in her tone struck a chord in both Sarah and Emma. "None of us is perfect," Emma said, leaning closer. "We all have our flaws and fears. That doesn't mean we shouldn't try." Maria looked torn, tears glistened in her eyes. "I'm scared, too. Scared that I'm taking you both away from what you had away from each other." Sarah leaned in, feeling an urge to reach out to Maria. "You're not taking anything away. We're just learning to adapt to this new thing together." Emma nodded, her brows furrowed with concern. "We decided to talk about our feelings today because we want to be open. It's messy, yes, but we can figure this out together. You're not alone in this." As the weight of their words settled, Maria soaked it in, sharing tentative glances with both women. "What if I can't handle the expectations?" she whispered. "That's the beauty of this journey," Sarah replied, her voice solid, filled with warmth. "We don't expect perfection. We'll celebrate the small wins and learn from the stumbles. No matter what happens, we're here to lift each other." Maria nodded slowly, the tension in her shoulders easing just a bit. "I want to believe that." Sarah offered her a soft smile, but she couldn't ignore the knot tightening in her stomach. This was only the beginning, and if they were to move forward as a unit, deeper truths would have to surface. As they sat in the gathering dusk, silence fell again, but it felt different now. A sense of possibility lingered, hinting at the work still left to do. I hope it doesn't break us," Maria finally said, her voice almost a whisper. "Me too," Emma admitted, her expression earnest. And in that moment of hope and uncertainty, Sarah knew they were standing at the edge of a decision that could change everything. In the depths of her heart, she felt the urge to ask for clarity, to dig deeper into the very fears they all harbored. But could they confront the truths lurking in the shadows? Would they be brave enough to face what lay beneath? The soft glow of the setting sun painted the park in warm hues, making the moment feel almost surreal. Sarah watched as Maria wiped away a tear, her determination flickering with uncertainty. It was clear that the conversation wasn't finished yet. There was so much more to unravel. "Maria," Sarah said, her voice steady, "let us be real about what's at stake. We've been trying to navigate this storm without much direction. It's important we set some ground rules about how we handle our feelings together." Emma nodded, her eyes fixed on Maria. "We want you to feel secure with us. That means openly sharing when something feels off or overwhelming." Maria sniffled, still searching for reassurance. What if I can't keep up with what you both want? I don't want to be the weak link." "No one is a weak link here," Sarah asserted, leaning closer. "This isn't about holding up a perfect image. It's about vulnerability. We need to be willing to show our wounds, to let the other in the good and the bad. What if I fall short of what you both need? Maria's voice trembled, like leaves rustling on a windy day. Emma sighed softly, the weight of the moment settling between them. Look, we'll never know if we don't talk. The fears you have are valid. But we have to face them together. You won't be alone in this. The sincerity in Emma's eyes sparked something within Maria. You promise? I promise, Sarah and Emma said in unison, their voices settling like a warm blanket over Maria's insecurities. Time seemed to stand still as Maria processed their words. She drew in a deep breath and focused her eyes on the ground. You know, I never imagined I'd be having a conversation like this, trembling with fear but feeling the support of two people at the same time. Sarah felt her heart warm. Just because we're feeling scared doesn't mean we can't journey together. From the very beginning, we've been stronger together than apart. I really want this to work, Maria admitted. But I don't want to bring chaos either. Life is chaotic sometimes, but that's where beauty lives. We find the chaos, we embrace it, and then we grow, Emma said. It's okay to feel unsure. Just know we're all in this together for a reason. Maria met their gazes, and a glimmer of hope began to fill the spaces of doubt. Okay, maybe I can try to believe in this. Sarah felt relief wash over her, but she sensed there was still something deeper beneath the surface, something that needed to be aired before they could truly move forward. Can we talk about our past? Things that shaped how we interact now? A visible shudder coursed through Maria. That might hurt. But it might heal us too, Emma interjected. Why don't we start with why we're all scared? Sarah ventured, her voice gentle yet firm. Silence blanketed them again, heavy with unsaid words. Maria's face turned slightly, grappling with the reality of revealing dark corners of her heart. I guess she started, her throat tightening. I carry baggage too. And it's hard to lay it out there when I don't know how you'll take it. At that moment, the first stars began to twinkle in the deepening sky. It felt like a signal, a reminder that amidst the darkness, there was always light waiting to break through. We'll take it one step at a time. Together, Sarah assured, although the knot in her stomach tightened again. They had a long way to go, but as Maria looked back at them, she seemed ready to step forward. What secrets lay buried in their pasts? Sarah feared the depths they might need to plumb would reveal truths they all wished to avoid, but how? The following day, everything changed. The sun cast a gentle glow over the park as Maria sat across from Sarah and Emma, their expressions a mix of hope and trepidation. Today was about opening up the kind of raw discussion that could either heal their wounds or expose them to new, sharper pain. I want to start with something simple, Maria began, her voice steady but soft. I'm scared of being a burden. I've always had to be strong, and now I feel like I'm struggling to keep pace with both of you. Sarah felt a prick of recognition at Maria's words. I get that, she replied, leaning in. I used to think I had to bear everything alone. I didn't want to burden you or Emma with my struggles. I thought it would make me stronger. But in doing so, I pushed you away, and that was more counterproductive than I'd ever imagined. Yeah, and it made me feel invisible, Emma added, her tone echoing a familiar pain. When you didn't let me in, it felt like being tossed aside. Like my needs didn't matter. Maria's gaze was thoughtful. I wish I knew that. If I had known your feelings, I would be stepped aside. I didn't want to overstep. But you didn't, Sarah interjected, urgency rising in her voice. You became someone Lily and Emma could count on when I couldn't be there. I lost track of that bond. Emma turned to Maria, eyes fierce yet soft. We do need each other. I don't want you to ever feel like you're not part of this family. We're all connected, in one way or another. A flicker of relief crossed Maria's face, and she nodded slowly, seemingly absorbing their words. I always tried to be the perfect nanny. I didn't want to mess things up. Perfection isn't real, Sarah said, her heart racing with intention. None of us can be perfect at anything. We're all a work in progress. The air felt charged, and Sarah's pulse quickened as she suggests, let us promise to be honest, about everything. No more hiding. Hiding hurts all of us, Emma chimed in, eager to reinforce their pact. It creates distance and disappointment. Maria's shoulders dropped in response, finally letting go of some of that tight tension. I want to try. I want this to be a safe place for all of us. And just like that, the atmosphere shifted, their hearts bloomed with a fragile yet resilient hope. Over the next few weeks, they began to forge a new path together. Sarah dove headfirst into new routines with Emma, cooking together, embarking on little adventures that created space for laughter and connection. They even took a family painting class. The acrylics were messy, but the smiles were genuine, and over time Sarah felt the familiar warmth of their bond rekindle. One afternoon, as they stood in the kitchen, Emma measured flour while Sarah whisked eggs, the sunlight streaming through the window, illuminating their faces. Emma turned and beamed, Mom, remember that time we made a mess with pancake batter? You made a joke about us being a flourishing family. Of course I do. Sarah chuckled, feeling warmth flow through her. You both were so sticky, I had to pry you away from the counter. The memory felt like a lifeline, a reminder of what they were capable of. Then one evening, as they enjoyed dinner with Maria at the table, laughter burst forth. Maria shared a story from her childhood, the exhilaration in her voice contagious. Sarah exchanged glances with Emma, both nodding in a silent understanding this was a step forward. But the journey wasn't without its bumps. Emma still experienced moments of doubt. One night, caught up in a whirlwind of teenage angst, she snapped at Maria. You're just a nanny. What do you know about family? The room fell silent, heavy with tension. Sarah felt her heart race, the urge to jump in. But Maria surprised them both. You're right, Emma. I'm not your family. But I care deeply about both of you, and I want to help. Just allow me to be here for you. Emma's angry facade crumbled, tears filling her eyes. I'm sorry, she whispered, fear slipping in through the cracks. That's what families do, we mess up, Sarah said, stepping in to bridge the gap. It's part of the healing process. Slowly, bit by bit, they began to dissolve the walls they built around their hearts. Embraces replaced tensions, smiles chased away worries. They became each other's safe harbor. The real test came on the anniversary of Sarah's husband's passing. It weighed heavily on her heart, the loss still felt like an uncharted sea. That morning, Sarah felt the ache of grief wrap around her in a familiar embrace, and yet instead of sinking into despair, she found the courage to share her feelings. At breakfast, surrounded by the delicious aroma of pancakes, Sarah gathered her girls close. I want to talk about something that's been weighing on me. Today, I feel heavy. I miss your dad, and sometimes it feels like an unending pain. Emma looked at her, understanding glimmering in her eyes. I miss him too, Mom. I always thought I had to keep it together, that showing sadness would make it harder for the two of you, Sarah continued, emotion spilling over. But you deserve to know that it's okay to grieve. Tears fell freely as they talked openly about their feelings, the love they lost but also the love they still shared. Maria quietly listened, tears in her eyes. By the end, they were all enveloped in an embrace that felt like healing, support wrapping around them like a warm hug. That day sparked something transformative. They began holding weekly family meetings where they would share their highs and their lows, joys, challenges, memories, and dreams. As the months passed, the brushstrokes of their lives began to blend into a vibrant, beautiful tableau, marked by laughter, love, and connection. They created traditions, shared stories, baked treats, and even set out on road trips to explore the world together. In the warmth of their home, the chaos of life became a melody, each of their voices a vital note in an ever-evolving symphony. The journey of discovering what family truly meant to them hadn't been an easy one, but they had done it together, woven their lives and loves into a patched quilt of resilience. And as they gathered together one sunny afternoon, watching the girls play in the yard while sharing memories, Sarah glanced at Maria with a radiant smile. "I can't believe how far we've come." Maria returned her gaze with equal warmth. "Together, we can face anything, right?" "Absolutely," Emma chimed in, her face bright with joy, an embodiment of all they had fought for. As they basked in the beautiful chaos of family life, Sarah's heart swelled with gratitude. They had transformed their struggles into strength, their chaos into laughter, and love had emerged victorious at the heart of it all. Now, it's your turn to cherish moments, embrace imperfections, and weave together the tapestry of your own life. Remember, every connection matters, and true love is worth fighting for. So, if you loved this journey, you need to subscribe now for more heartwarming stories. Leave a like now to keep the good vibes flowing and feed the algorithm. Comment below your feelings about this ending, I want to hear your reactions. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let's spread love and healing.